7:01. The meeting is being recorded. I like it. Good, thank you. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Jerome Town Council today, Tuesday, August 10th, 7:01 p.m. We're doing it by Zoom just because of the status of COVID continues to get worse. And I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask Candace to do a roll call, please.
Mayor Dillenberg,
Present.
Vice Mayor Worse,
Present.
Barber,
Present.
Ms. Harvey,
Here.
Ms. Moore.
Here.
Great. Glad you all are here. Thank you. I'd like to begin with item number 1, our financial reports for July, please. And I saw your notes on there, with the some of the expenses back and forth that have to be modified. So thanks for making us aware of that. Does anyone have any questions for Melanie? Sage, you okay with everything?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Sage. Is there a second? Maybe?
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Alex. We got Alex. Oh, and Jane too. Okay, we got a second and a third. So it's all good. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you for approving the financial reports. Melanie, thanks again for an awesome job, and we look forward to seeing those adjustments as we go through the next month.
Yes.
Thank you so very much. Appreciate
Sure.
your help. Thank you. Moving right along, staff and council reports. Candace, please start us off.
With Melanie, we did an online demonstration of the new accounting software that we're moving into, and we're both extremely excited about it. It's going to be so much better for the town. It's going to take about a year to get the whole thing into place, but by this time next year, hopefully we'll be up and running on the new system.
Great.
Rosa and Kristen, I met with a representative of ProCopy. They hold the state contract for copying equipment. We've had a lot of trouble with our Xerox copier, and we found out that we can switch to this Canon copier. It's a long, complicated thing, but they basically give us a check for the remainder of our Xerox lease, which we keep paying, and we're going to save about $1,000 a year and have a better copier. So that's
wonderful. Great job. Thank you, and Kristen. Thank you.
And we eliminated a position in the front office, a part-time position, and those duties can be absorbed beautifully by Melanie and Kristen, and we'll save about $5,000 a year with that. So we're on a roll,
Awesome.
saving money here.
Let's say, not bad.
Let's see. We advertised for the parking enforcement officer, and we've gotten a lot of applications for that, which surprised me because applications haven't really been coming in that strongly. For other positions, but that one is attracting a lot of attention. So I've been forwarded to the chief, and he's going to make a decision soon, I believe. Also reached out to a lot of towns about what they're doing to watch out for their more vulnerable residents after we had that conversation at one of the prior meetings. And I've gotten some really good information of programs in other places, and I've sent it on to chief. He's very interested in pursuing something when he gets back, and we're continuing to work on that.
Great.
Zoning ordinance has been updated with the most recent amendment. It's up to date on our website. We can give you hard copies if you need one. Let's see, we all attended the first workshop meeting for water and sewer rates, and I published the required notice for that and sent questions from council to the attorney. The next workshop meeting we just scheduled today for August 23rd at 10 a.m. And that will probably be by Zoom so that the attorney can easily attend.
Great.
And the other stuff is grant stuff going on. Congratulations to Marty Boland, 5 years this time, August 1st.
Wow.
And John Knight, who completed 2 years on August 1st.
And it seems like 5. Oh.
So water flows are okay. Sales tax continues to astonish. If you look at the sales tax in June this year, we brought in $141,000 as opposed to 71 last year.
Wow, amazing.
July numbers, last year we brought in 84,000, this year we brought in 117. So we're keeping my fingers
Great.
that trend continues. That's it for my report.
And I love Muma's, that was a great report he submitted. And I love the fact that the parking kiosk revenue this past month was over $23,000.
That's
Oh,
with-
my Lord, that's wonderful. So really good. And just a quick thing, I want to give kudos to Marty and the team for the wonderful job they're doing on that parking spot in front of the right there on Main Street. It looks fabulous. I went by there today. Sage, did you want to say something about it too? I said, no, but yeah, Jane, please.
I just wanted to thank Marty and the crew that helped, and I think it was fire department volunteers who dealt with the flooded out creek bed in the gulch when we had all that rain. And if I could also make a comment about the police report about Dundee and the speeding on Dundee, that a lot of that road is in the county, I think, and I don't know whether the town is maintaining the county part of it or not.
To some extent we do. They know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we
Okay.
do. I think we go beyond hours. I think Marty shared that with me. Yeah,
Okay.
we do.
Yeah, I wondered if the county might help in some way,
Good,
if
good
that
thought.
needs to be dealt with.
Thank you. We can certainly make the ask. Appreciate that, Jane. If that's it on the, that's it on that. So should we approve those or are we going to wait on? Let's get a motion to approve those, please.
Dr. Mayor,
Yes, yes, Mandy.
I just want to make a quick note about sales tax revenue,
Yes.
which is pretty awesome. Not only is it $343,000 more than we budgeted for, but it's $253,000 more than last year.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to make that note that
Thank you.
that's really fantastic and a little surprising, and I'm excited about that. Thank you.
I
Oh,
go,
and
how
I'll
much
make a
do we get to
motion to
keep is
approve
the
the council
question.
and staff report.
Yeah.
Seconded.
All those, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. We accept that. And so we have Mandy and Sage on that, right? Thank you. Zoning administrators report, and then we'll do the minutes. Okay, John. And congratulations on your few years with us. We love having you and we appreciate all the great work. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mayor. Appreciate it. It's been fun. I've learned a tremendous amount in 2 years, actually. Jerome is a very unique place. So zoning
So I've
administrator's
heard.
report. The July 21st P and Z meeting, we did some ordinance amendments regarding temporary signs in the commercial and industrial zone, and that will come to you hopefully at your next meeting. And we also did a work session for them on affordable housing. We're doing something, an abbreviated version for council tonight on affordable housing. And surprisingly, we actually had to cancel the DRB meeting in August. It comes and goes. It seems like some meetings we have a ton of things on, and then other times you got nothing. A little bit going on code enforcement, not too much. One of the things that is kind of interesting is we did put together a fairly simple survey on residential permit parking system. It's a mouthful. And as of August 2nd, we had 75 people fill out the survey. And I just checked a minute ago and we had another half a dozen or another 4 or 5 joined that. So there's 79 now. And just really quick, some of the things that I wanted to note about that, about half the respondents had a permit, residential parking permit. About half of those have 2 permits, and about half the people that responded said they did have off-street parking. Quite a few people have used temporaries, about 1/3 of the respondents, and of those, many of them have had problems with the temporary system. So if there's one area, we kind of already knew this, but if there's one area that we need to maybe make some tweaks to, I think it has to do with the way we use the temporary permit system. And I definitely want to coordinate with Councilmember Harvey's nodding her head. I definitely want to coordinate with PD and see what some of the problems they've had. You know, they're the boots on the ground, so to speak.
Yes.
Also, of course, meet with the neighbors. And that'll be the next step with this, I think, is we talked about individually going out and meeting with the neighbors to gather concerns that they might have before we go and make any more changes to the
Thank you.
ordinance. That's a good idea. Quite a few people said they were interested or willing to participate if we formed some sort of committee or had a meeting or workshop. So that's good news. I think we have surprising participation on a per capita basis in Jerome compared to really any other jurisdiction I've lived or worked in. If they got this many people to participate in things in Phoenix, every council meeting, you'd have 500,000 people show up. So, a few people, to my surprise, quite a few people actually said they thought the residential permit parking system should be abandoned altogether. 17% said it should be abandoned. Another quarter of respondents thought that maybe it should be abandoned. But I think, of those respondents that said maybe, I suspect a lot of those think that it should be adjusted. I think that it should be. You guys hear me okay? I'm just getting a note
Yes,
from Rose.
we can.
Okay, I can switch to the headphones on the next item here. Just a few miscellaneous things. I did want to add one to the list. We're actually meeting in Clarkdale to talk about the cemetery site, headed down there with the mayor. And we are, and hopefully Candace, and we're going to meet with the mayor down there in Clarkdale, do a quick site tour and talk to them about possible uses of that property. That's not on the list here. At the previous meeting, we talked about coordinating with the University of Arizona to assist with affordable housing. And they are still interested in participating. And we'll probably have something coming back to you at the September meeting on that. I do spend a lot of time fielding calls from potential home buyers. And I just want to say that anecdotally, I'd say over 2/3 of the people call and ask if they can turn the home into an Airbnb or short-term rental. So it seems to be a serious trend. I know that doesn't surprise anybody, but anecdotally, that's been my experience, and I think that's what we're seeing as well. We did have a good meeting with the surveyor, Stan Dickey, and Councilmember Moore joined me, and we walked the site on Rich Street, and that was very illuminating. I have followed up with the property owner that's posted the signs regarding the parking. It appears that the spaces along Highway 89 are actually in the county public works right away. So she sent me an email letting me know that she's working on getting those signs moved. So I'll continue to follow up on that. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you.
First report. Thank you.
Any questions or for John from anyone? No, thank you. Do we need a motion to approve that report? No, we don't. Thank you so much, John. Really appreciate the work, and I hope we have many more years of
Thank you.
service. Thank you. Let's move on to the approval of the minutes from July 13th. Any questions, comments on the meeting?
Motion to
Yes,
approve.
thank you, Sage. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Alex. We have a motion to approve and a second for the minutes of July 13th. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Passes unanimously. Thank you so much. And do we have any petitions from the public?
Yes,
We have
We
Greg,
do. Sounds like Greg Driver.
there he is.
can you hear me?
I can hear you, but we can't see you.
No, I have concerns about my bandwidth.
Okay, cool.
I've never done this before, so you're lucky to hear me. Anyway, okay, I'll
That's
make this,
relative, but we're glad that you're here.
I'll try to make this quick.
Thank you, sir.
I live next to the Haven Methodist Church. And the sewer line that we share goes up to Town Hall and on the other side of the highway to the two Loudon houses. And there's a couple other houses on there. Anyway, it's an old clay line, at least part of it is, and tree roots have started getting in recently in the last 3 to 4 years or something like that. But the thing that just started happening was that when it rains a little bit, it backs up all the way into my house because of the roots, which then I get the town crew to come and route it out. And that works for a while. But the main issue here, Jane, is that way too much stormwater is getting in. And this has been a very wet year. But I just wanted to point out that, you know, that might be the first thing that needs to be attended to. Although, you know, short term, long term, we need to get this 4-inch clay pipe replaced. But immediately we should go see if anybody has inadvertently plumbed some of their roof water, or some kind of roof water is somehow getting into this line, and it backs up when maybe too much gravel or whatever it is backs up with the roots that are just below my house,
Well, I
where I've
appreciate
never
you
had.
making us aware of this, Craig. So sorry about that, but that is a priority.
Right.
We will make that a priority.
Okay, I
We will
just
make it
wanted to say that
priority.
it's a stormwater issue
Okay,
most immediately, and then let's replace the line long-term, and the roots can never then get in the future. Okay, thank you very much.
thank
for-
you very much. This
Yeah.
is the first I've heard of this, so Jane,
Right,
I don't know, whatever, but that's a critical issue that needs attention. And I would think we're all would be in favor of finding out what's going on. Candace, however we can get to the bottom of it with
Right.
whatever expertise we need, especially since our financial situation is doing well. This is a critical issue that I think needs rapid attention and.
yeah, I know we have other problems, and
No, that's all right, but no,
Right.
this is critical. This is important, and I sincerely appreciate you taking time to make us aware. And please know that we are going to treat this very seriously and quickly.
Cool.
Any other comments from, I think most of us would be in agreement on any, Jane, you okay, everyone? Any
Dr.
thoughts?
Mayor?
Alex? Yes. Oh, I saw, sorry,
Um,
now I see you, Mandy. I didn't see Mandy's hand up. Sorry, Jane.
It's okay. I just wanted to note that I've had 2 other properties on that same line. The owners, 2 other property owners on that same line have
Right,
contacted me with the same concern.
Wow.
So it's definitely not just exclusively to one property.
No,
There
no,
are others having problems.
Thank you. Greg, no, that's good to hear in the sense that we really need to pay attention to it and get it done quickly and as best we can. So thank you
Right.
very much, Mandy, for clarifying that. And I think we were all in agreement that this is something that needs to be addressed right away by experts. So let's make sure we're doing that. Jane, did you have a comment, please?
Just commenting that as a result of a lot of water that we've had lately, I think quite a few issues have turned up as a result of all the rainwater and drainage and sewer and stuff, and that we should talk to the crew.
Yes. I agree. Thank you. And I think, Candace, are you okay with what you've heard? And let's get,
Actually had a conversation with Marty. I had talked to Greg earlier today and I had a
great.
conversation with Marty. He's aware and he's working toward it. Yes.
Let's do that. Alex, you're okay, and Sage, I want to be, I think we're all in agreement that we need to act on this. And, when I look around the country and all the damage that this rain is causing around the country, we're fortunate that it's not any worse, but we are still suffering with some of the damage that's occurring. So we need to address it. So thank you very much, Greg. Appreciate
Thank you.
taking time to, we're going to be on it.
Thank you.
Any other petitions from the public, please?
Not that I have, no.
I have, okay. Okay, moving right along. Ordinances and resolutions, item 7. Item 7A, the second reading and possible adoption of ordinance number 473, an ordinance of the council of the town of Jerome, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the Jerome Town Code and Jerome Subdivision Code to remove references to fees charged by the town, which will henceforth be set by resolution of the town council.
Dr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mandy. Is there a second? Thank you, Sage. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, we have adopted it. Moving along to item number 7B, the second reading and possible adoption of ordinance number 474, an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Jerome, Arizona, amending sections 201, 502, 503, 504, and 505 of the Jerome zoning ordinance to establish beekeeping as a conditional use in all zones and to promulgate regulations regarding same. Any comments, discussions on that, please? May I get a motion then, if there's none?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Sage. Is there a
Second.
second?
Yep,
Is that
I'll
Alex?
second.
Thank
Mandy.
you. And I see Mandy. Any other comment? No? Jane? Hearing none? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We passed that as well. Moving on to item 7C, resolution number 623, authorizing who can approve and sign legal documents. There you go. Any discussion on that, please?
I can explain.
Motion to approve.
I actually
you.
just need a clarification if possible.
Okay, good. Thank you. We'll hold that motion for a moment. And let's get the clarification, if you would, please, Candace.
This resolution
Candace,
came to us from Yavapai County along with the E-rate agreement, which needs to be signed, and they now need a resolution on file as to who will sign the E-rate agreement. That's really what triggered this. It'll apply to other things with the county, but it had to do with the E-rate agreement. And as you can see, you can check off more than just the mayor's pre-check there. You know, you could add me if you want me to be able to sign it without the mayor having to sign it. In any event, it's a very simple resolution, and it just says this person is the authorized person to sign these agreements, and it has to do with E-rate, which is not ready for your approval yet.
Yes, we have a question or comment.
I
from
do,
Sage.
please,
Oh,
Dr.
sorry.
Mayor.
Yes, let's Mandy, then Sage, then we get to Jane.
Okay, thank you. That was Candace answered one of the things, because I said, well, do we have any right yet? But then this is for Tim Carter's office, for Yavapai County Education Service Agency's office, but it also notes the Jerome Library. And I'm just curious how those two end
It
up on the same thing.
goes through the school superintendent's office, and it's for the library.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mandy. Good question. Let's go to Sage, please.
I would actually amend my motion to approve with the addition of the town manager. I think that's something that Candace could sign for too.
I agree.
That was what I was gonna make an amendment to your motion for, Sage. So we are thinking the same thought.
I like it. Good job. No, I think that's a good change to that motion. Let me go to Jane, and then we can see if we want to make a second on that modified motion. Yes, Jane.
I just wanted to make sure there was someone else if the mayor was not available, that's all.
Absolutely. Great. We're all on the same page. I think absolutely. So we have a motion that to accept this with the change of adding the town manager as a signatory. We need a second for that.
I will
Alex,
second that with the town manager as a signatory.
thank you so much. We have a motion, a modified motion with a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you. Motion as modified carries. Thank you all. Unfinished business. Boy, I could add to this list. Item 8A, affordable workforce housing update. John, will you update the council regarding the town's efforts towards affordable workforce housing?
Thank you, Dr. Mayor. Hopefully you guys can hear me all right. I switched to the headphones.
Yeah, just turn it up a little bit if you can.
Turn it up. me if I
Oh,
just
don't
get the
worry,
mic a
you're
little
good.
bit
Just there
closer.
you go. That's better.
In the meantime, I'm landing planes, so bear with me. Just a couple of points I wanted to make. Staff has been participating in the efforts primarily championed by Sedona and Cottonwood, but we have been participating and they've been keeping us in the loop about their efforts. They recently came out with Volume 3, a 5-year affordable housing action plan and case study, which did include some specific recommendations, but each jurisdiction is going to need to go through and see which ones make sense to them. And I've included a list of some things that were in the plan, but also some different ideas for some preliminary discussion that we want to maybe come back with at another time to talk about with the council in a more detailed effort. So just hit a couple key points here. One is the town of Jerome is actually losing population and is projected to continue to lose population all the way. I know it's a long ways away. At 2050 to a population decreased all the way down to 372 people. And that doesn't surprise me based on what I'm hearing and seeing anecdotally when people call, when properties go up for sale. I can think of 2 or 3 currently where the current residents are being, long-term Jerome residents are being kicked out, and there's literally no place for them to move. They're having to move down to Cottonwood or Clarkdale or other locations entirely. And unfortunately, some of those houses are turning into short-term rentals. So that trend, I think, is going to continue. The population of Jerome is aging. This is an interesting but not surprising fact. The population in Jerome, the median age, which is not necessarily the best way to look at it, but the median age is 54. And if you compare that to some of the other jurisdictions nearby, like Camp Verde and Cottonwood actually has a median age of 34. So that's the sort of the prime working age. So that's another challenge Jerome is looking at. Excuse me. One of the things that was really interesting that they studied in the Verde Valley as a whole is that we're actually seeing a significant loss of our younger workforce. The age range they look at from 15 to 59 is significantly decreasing, and they're moving to other locations. So they're moving outside of the Verde Valley. So most of the people that are moving into the Verde Valley are in the 65 to 74-year-old range. So those are some of the greatest increases. As of the time they did the survey, Jerome had a fairly high unemployment rate. It was actually estimated at 12%. I'm not sure how accurate that is today. Housing prices is, again, not surprisingly, housing prices are kind of gone crazy. In the report, they'd estimated the average housing price in Jerome was $350,000. I suspect it's more like $500,000 to $600,000 currently, and that's continuing to go up.
Wow.
I've seen that in Sedona where I live. I'm sure they're seeing that all over the Verde Valley. There's a significant, what they call an affordability gap. And the affordability gap is anybody who's paying more than 27%, more than 30% of their income toward housing or rent is considered as part of that affordability gap. And we have a fairly high percentage of folks in Jerome that do pay more than 30% of their income toward housing. The report included quite a few tools. I'm not going to go through each one of those, but quite a few tools for affordable housing that different jurisdictions have been employing. And we can go through those maybe at a later workshop or meeting. Some of the key challenges and opportunities, affordability, of course, is one of the biggest challenges right now. And building new housing is one of the best methods of getting working toward that affordability gap at all levels, at all income levels. One of the biggest challenges in Jerome is probably always will be parking. So any new development, if we do have new development, affordable housing is we're going to need to address parking. We don't have a lot of available land. It's not Clarkdale or Cottonwood. Jerome is mostly built out. There are a few lots here and there, but that's going to be a big challenge. One potential opportunity would be, we may want to consider again, does it make sense to annex some land to the town in Jerome? We may wake up one day and Jerome will truly be 350 people and be the smallest jurisdiction in Arizona. Short-term rentals are a serious challenge. I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. I know there's efforts working at the state level. Some interesting ideas that some jurisdictions are working on to address the short-term rentals is one avenue is to record deed restrictions. And I did a little bit of research today on accessory units or secondary dwelling units or granny units, whatever you want to call them. Some jurisdictions have successfully implemented requirements where they provide an incentive to developers, whether it's a single family homeowner adding a guest house or an accessory dwelling unit, or a developer building a large apartment complex. They're offering incentives in exchange for them voluntarily recording a deed restriction to ensure that they cannot rent those for short-term rentals, that they have to be occupied by people who are there at least a minimum of 30 days. Flagstaff has actually fairly recently updated their ordinance to do that with accessory dwelling units, as you're allowed to have an accessory dwelling unit only if you agree to restrict that to not allow short-term rentals. So I think this is a serious issue. I know every jurisdiction in the Verde Valley, every jurisdiction I've ever worked with or for in California has been very concerned about affordable housing. It's a big challenge. It's not quite as difficult as tackling climate change, but I think it's something that we need to take seriously
Absolutely.
and address. And if the council's interested, I'm not looking for any specific direction at this point, but if the council's interested, I think we should have a more detailed workshop or meeting to talk a little bit more about affordable housing.
Thank you. Thanks, John. Yes, and I'll get to Mandy. I see your hand up, Mandy. But affordable housing is a critical priority for all of us. And the interesting thing is some of our private partners in the community, the mining folks, there's some that are interested in maybe collaborating with us and developing some of this. So yes, we need to continue discussions. Yes, that's going to be hopefully an area that's going to, we're going to find a solution to, because that is we always talk about infrastructure and affordable housing is two very major issues that we need to address soon and correctly. Mandy, did you have a question or comment?
Probably more comment than anything. I mean, you all know how I feel about this, and you also are all aware of the issues and restrictions that were placed on us by the state with this. I have some hope that maybe after the next election, things might at least be able to be discussed in a rational format. So
Yes.
I'm kind of crossing my fingers there, but that is going to take some doing from the state's residents as a whole. I would love to see that we have a discussion about what I've started to try to change my terminology from affordable to accessible, because it's gotten beyond the fact that your general standard workforce employee, who makes maybe $15 an hour on average could afford. It's gotten to the point where there just isn't anything. And people are outbidding each other for rentals. I mean, it's like buying a house now. People are outbidding each other on rentals now.
Crazy.
I know of one that was originally listed for $15 and it got bid up to $2,800
Oh
for
my.
a 2-bedroom, 1-bath in a month in Cottonwood. Not even up here in Cottonwood.
Yeah.
So
Got it.
I've started to try to change my terminology to say accessible, but I would love to see something where we could really kind of dig down to some of the nitty gritty, see where our legality questions lie as far as what we can and can't do, especially with something like a deed restriction, whether that is for a existing or possible accessory use building, or even a building that currently exists that maybe doesn't fit the format that right now allows residential. I don't know. We have to think outside the box as much as possible. If we did that, I would be intrigued to invite someone from the league to participate and possibly assist us with some of that discussion as far as what's been happening at the state level over the past several years.
Yeah.
I think that would be an excellent resource
suggestion.
to have
Good
if we're going to have
suggestion.
a specific thing about that. And I do think that maybe we want to, much as, yes, our primary concern is Jerome and the town of Jerome and the Jerome residents, it might be a conversation that we could have with a couple of our neighboring communities If we were doing intergovernmental meetings again, it would be a great topic to put out there. That was when this, and Dr. Jack, I think, was in the meeting, the Verde Valley Regional Economic Organization meeting where we talked about doing this and this
Wow.
study several years ago. And that was the eventual goal, was to have a meeting, an intergovernmental Verde Valley governmental meeting specifically on it. So I don't know if we want to do that right away or not, but I'm still kind of digging through the nitty gritty on that study since it's
Thank
new
you.
information. So
Thank you.
it's just an ongoing conversation, and it is crisis level, hands down.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yes, without question, it's a high priority and we need to address it. And I like the idea of bringing some experts in to meet with us so we can discuss it, be innovative, be creative. And, there's a solution in there. We just have to see what we can do to find that and create it here. And I like the idea of engaging some other folks, experts, to meet with us. Jane, yes, you have your hand up, please.
I'd also like to keep moving forward on the hotel.
Yes.
And also the property
Yay.
that Jerome owns in Clarkdale. I think
Yes.
that's, I
Two
mean,
big
those are
ones.
things that we do have control over, being that
Absolutely.
the town owns those buildings and not have to worry about deed restrictions, legalities and things like that
Right.
as far as control over it.
Yep, we're all in agreement on that one, Jane. Thanks.
Yeah.
Candace, you have a comment?
Just a comment for Jane. We just signed the agreement with ADEQ. They're moving forward with the lead paint abatement on the hotel now. So that's happening very soon. And there was a delay on their part, but it's moving forward now.
Great.
That's the
There
next
you go. Thanks. I think we're all in agreement there, and I'm really excited to meet with the mayor Thursday down in Clarkdale and see what opportunity. I see we have a public hand up. I'll get that in a second. I think that having that meeting is going to be helpful too, to see what the reality is of what we might be able to do there. So I'm looking forward to that discussion and reporting back. Okay, yes, I see Wendy and company.
It's actually Ron.
It's Ron, I know. Hey, Ron. Long
We're
time no see.
newbies, relatively speaking, and we've noticed that the loss of workforce or affordable housing, such as the clubhouse and Haskin Apartments and the building next to the Victoria. I've asked, John and also Al before John, as far as any plans for affordable housing. And I was wondering, I guess you really don't have a plan. Have you thought about putting any money in the budget to jumpstart affordable housing? As an example, if the clubhouse had come up and Jerome had some money in the budget to buy the clubhouse for affordable housing, but do you have any funding in the budget now for affordable housing?
Well, the Hotel Jerome, I think that's one thing we're investing in. So that to get housing there, certainly we're going to have money there. I can't see, we have money available. It has not been earmarked for a particular project yet. We need to define the project.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we're hoping down in the property we own in Clarkdale, where the cemetery is there. We have at least 14, 15 acres, I believe, that we can develop there. And if we can put a little apartment complex or some kind of opportunity, that's what we want to explore. And with the mining company there at the schoolhouse, and see, they're interested, and they've got some property next to the what's that, where we had the water shut off there off I'm drawing a blank on their building where their office building was down there off
The engineers building.
the engineers building. And they're open to the idea of maybe collaborating with us to make that an apartment. Rentals in there. So we are having discussions. We haven't come up with a plan yet, but we agree with you, Ron. I mean, this is something that we really need to address. We all, are very much aware of it and want to have a positive influence on it.
Could you then establish yearly amount or the budget to increase the funding for affordable housing then?
We could, well, I guess you know, again, we have funding there. You know, Candace, I don't know what your thinking is on this, but I believe that we can certainly earmark money for that. I don't see a
Okay.
problem with that.
Okay.
We haven't,
thank
you know, that's a good suggestion.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Okay, thanks.
Is there any other question or comment on that? No? Thank you very much, and thanks, John. Okay, moving to town fees, planning and zoning. 8B. So what are the staff recommendations for changes to the planning and zoning fees? Candace,
That would be John.
John, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jack. So in general, I remember the discussion on water and sewer rates. In general, I think Jerome's fees for a lot of things are way too low. Low for Arizona, low for the Verde Valley. And I've included, I guess, you know, just from a blanket statement, my opinion is all these fees have to be raised. Now, if you have a small project, you shouldn't be required to pay a big fee if you're just changing the paint color on your house and doing some minor change in siding or something. So, you know, we'll have to adjust some of the smaller projects accordingly, but I think some of the larger projects, when somebody builds a new commercial building, a new residential single-family home, well, if you're going to build a new residential single-family home in Jerome, it's probably going to cost you $300,000 or maybe even $400,000. They can certainly afford more than $200 in planning fees for the site plan review and design review process. So I think comparing our fees with some of the other jurisdictions in the Verde Valley is appropriate. I'm not sure we want to jump all the way to Sedona's fees. They do charge a significant amount of money
I agree
for
with
some
that.
of their permitting, but everything costs more in Sedona. So Camp Verde, I think, has some reasonable fees worth looking at. I did include those for,
You're breaking up
include
on
those
us,
for your
John.
discussion.
You're breaking up on us
so-
now. We can't hear you.
Okay,
Turn off
So
your.
why don't you, so
maybe you
are
guys
you
are,
making a recommendation
I'll
for
turn
the
off-
fees yet?
there we go. I'll turn off the
Okay.
video. So no recommendations
Okay,
at this
so if
point.
you
I
would
wanted to
then,
get some
so
feedback
for our
from the
next
council.
meeting, maybe do that. That would be great.
Yeah, if there are any
think-
specific thoughts on, after looking at these fee schedules that I've attached, if you have any specific thoughts on some of these, otherwise I'd like to come back and just do a recommendation and we can go through that at the next meeting.
Mayor Sage. and,
Yes, Sage, please.
Yeah, actually, I went
I
through
see
this
Alex
pretty
as well.
thoroughly. And let me just that way I don't have to hold my button down. I agree with a lot of this, John. And I tend to look at Clarkdale for the pricing on things.
Mhm.
And I think that we could be in line with them for pricing on a lot of stuff. Is kind of what I was thinking.
Cool. Thank you.
And that's pretty much where I was going with it too. I would rather look at our fees be a little bit more like Clarkdale than the other ones, but I need a little bit more time to mow over all of these fees. So it
Thank
was a
you,
lot
Alex.
of information.
Thanks,
Thank
Alex.
you.
Good points. Thank you.
And I wanna
Mandy, you
note-
have your hand up?
Thank you, Dr. Mayor. I agree that I think that our fee schedule is not necessarily appropriate for modern day and should definitely have a review, and that Clarkdale is a good template to see kind of where, make sure that we're in line with things. As building has gotten more complicated with building codes and processes have gotten more involved, I think it's definitely taking more staff time, and we're not accommodating for that. And it's, you know, if it's a small thing, then that's one thing, but if it's building a whole house, that's a whole nother situation. I got a chance to kind of dig through these, and I like where Clarkdale kind of is at, but I'd like to maybe wiggle a little bit for us. Candace, is it possible for council members individually to submit to you their comments on the information that John provided for us so that you can compile that for him?
Absolutely.
Yes.
That'd be great. Thanks,
Okay, thank
Candace.
you.
A good suggestion, Mandy. Thank you.
And I did want to make one note that there are some things that we need to actually clarify. That variance, for example, we need to clarify the fee on that. And then we did not currently have a fee for an extension. So there are a couple things that we need to actually add fees. We have talked about at a couple of different meetings if we want to include fees that are essentially penalties for people who start work without permits. And I think there appeared to be last time consensus that we should, those people that do start work without permits, my experience has been they know that they're supposed to get permits. And they start work anyway because they know there's no punishment, there's no penalty. If they get
Yeah.
caught, oh, sorry, I didn't know, I'll go through the process. So at the building level, we double the permit fee. I think we should do the same thing at the planning level. If you start work without permits and you need not an electrical permit, but if you need a site plan review or design review, let's double those permits for those folks. And pretty quickly, the word's going to get out in Jerome that, oops, better
Yeah.
not start work without checking with the town.
Good, absolutely.
So I can come back at September, and if the
Great.
council wants to forward individually, be careful, but individually forward their comments to the town manager, that would be fantastic.
Great. Thank you all. Excellent. This is we have to move in this positive direction with this. Great. Thanks, John. Moving right along to item 9A in new business, the appointment to Planning and Zoning Commission. I know we have a vacancy to fill and we have a wonderful applicant here, Jara.
Dr. Mayor,
Point of
point of
order.
order.
Oh, we have to vote on
Just
this?
item
Is that it?
8C.
We jumped an
8C.
item. You jumped the
Jumped an
shark.
item.
Draft ordinance regarding special events, item 8C, Mr. Mayor.
We did go by that. I checked it by mistake. My apologies. 8C, draft ordinance regarding special events. Thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry, I checked it off for some reason. Who's going to lead us on that one?
Okay, I will talk about this. This is a
Thank
bear, this whole thing. This is a draft that I put together based on council's discussions. It started out, if you remember, as an ordinance to amend the zoning code, and we tried to simplify it to just put a section in our regular town code. I tried to give you some examples here of, under this ordinance, what would be allowed, what wouldn't be allowed. And ignore the second paragraph in my report. At the time I prepared this, I thought it might go on for first reading, but the more I got into it, I realized it's just, we still need to have further discussion about that before we get to that point. If you take a look at what's allowed and what's not allowed, a couple of things I wanted to ask council. The way this is written, basically a small private wedding in the town park would need a permit. And some people may want, a group of 6 people together to get married in the park. And do you really want them to have to jump through the hoops of getting a permit? So one way to get around that would be to include an exemption for private events in a town park that is attended by fewer than X number of people, whatever you decide. Also, just a note that the film festival under this ordinance would require a permit because it charges admission and it's advertised for the general public. And although it takes place on private property, it's a public event. It also uses the town streets to go from one event to the next, to the next, to the next. So it's not really not using town property. It's kind of an unusual situation. And then questions, how do you want to handle events like kaleidoscope classes at Nellie Bly? It's advertised to the public. It charges an admission fee, but it's on private property with limited attendance. And if you want to exclude that kind of thing, we need to figure out a way to do that. Also, I believe there's probably events at the old high school that are like that. I'm not sure, but it's possible. And also publicized promotional events at privately owned retail or restaurants, like happens sometimes at Caduceus. And then publicly advertised benefits at Paul and Jerry's or it's the Spirit Room for town residents. I don't imagine you want those things to have to go through the permit process. So one way to get around that would be to change the exemption that's number 4 in the draft ordinance to say private or public events conducted entirely on private property. And in my opinion, that still would not include the film festival because it's not entirely on private property. It traverses throughout town. So that's that's your starting point. So happy to hear your comments and suggestions.
Yes, please. Mandy, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Dr. Mayor. I had some of those concerns, I guess, that Candace did, and I'm glad she brought those up. I guess I'm going to start backwards on her memo and work back to the beginning. So where she suggests or notes that each could be exempted if we want by changing the exemption to read private or public events conducted entirely on private property. Could we make that say private or public events conducted entirely on private property at a single location?
I had that very thought, yes.
Because then that would allow for things like something that is happening just at Paul and Jerry's or just at the Spirit Room, and where people are not necessarily traversing town-owned property to get from point A to point B. That would cover an event that was entirely, an open gallery event at the old high school or something of that nature, where we could say, at one location.
That's- yeah.
I also, so when you've got the 3 questions and you've mentioned a couple of things like a publicized promotional event, a kaleidoscope class, publicly advertised benefit event. I think that if it is a benefit event, which I'm pretty certain the Kaleidoscope Festival is, then that should be a different category than something that's a for-profit event, which I believe something like the film festival is a for-profit event.
So suggesting a separate exemption for events benefiting a charitable cause, something like that.
Or a separate thing that says, like if it doesn't fit, that conducted entirely on private property portion, if it is a event that's a benefit or an event that is for a nonprofit, that they could apply for an exemption.
I'm not
That way we're aware of what's going on. I'm not really sure how we would handle that, but, and then as far as private events in the town park, I'm okay if we say, a private event in the town park attended by fewer than, say, 10 people, as long as they're not bringing a bunch of stuff. Because even if you've got 10 people, but they're going to bring 4 dining tables and 2 buffet tables and 2 dozen chairs and all kinds of things into the park, I think that becomes a whole separate situation. So I'm not really sure how to handle that. And then I have a little bit of a concern about legally, can we name specific events that the town is not part of?
That the town
I-
part of?
So like in the, you gave us a list of examples. I don't know that we could actually like name some of those events.
Are you saying you want to name them or you don't want to name them?
I don't think we can.
I think it would be best not to.
Yeah. But maybe have, make sure that anything that is town sponsored or town co-sponsored
Mhm.
becomes automatically exempt.
And it's in the exemption.
Yeah.
But that list is just examples. It's not part of the draft ordinance. It's just to say this event would fall under this exemption, or this event a permit would be required under this section of the ordinance. I didn't
Right.
actually name the events, no.
No, those are just my notes that I had. Thank you.
Thanks, Mandy. Any other, oh yeah, Alex, I see your hand up. Thank you. And then Jane.
So when we are talking about fees or the permits, is there going to be a fee for this permit?
Yes.
Okay, so is there going to be different charges for different sizes?
It's up to council.
Okay, so then I agree with Mandy of a wedding in the town park under 10 people. I also had written down on this as far as the Kaleidoscope classes, the Caduceus Cellars, and the Paul and Jerry's or Spirit Room, that Jerome businesses need our support, not more fees. So I'm kind of against that. And I do like the way you and Mandy had talked about Public or private or public events conducted entirely on private property at a single location. I like the verbiage of that.
Actually, I think we could just remove public or private because that covers everything and just say
Yes.
events.
Okay.
Yes.
And I think that is about my 2 cents at this point. Thank you for
Thanks,
listening.
Alex. It was a good nickel. It wasn't 2 cents. It was good. All right, Jane.
My concern that I brought up the last time as well as, and I'm not sure quite how to do this, say, if you're expecting more than X amount of people, I don't know, 30, 50 people. And for instance, the events at Spook Hall, where they have a couple hundred people and they're taking up all the parking in town for the whole weekend. That doesn't seem quite fair to the rest of the businesses in town, to me. And I'm not sure whether we can make a requirement that if it's more than X amount of people, that they use the parking out on the 300 level and shuttle people in. I don't know. I mean, they are using town property to park. Granted, they're paying, but they're eliminating a lot of people that come and go from town when they're here. And I think that one event they do at Spook Hall is a 2-day event. And those people do park in the main part of town all weekend long, I believe. That's the way it's been. And not spelling out specific events, but say, you know, if you're expecting the need to park more than 50 people or something like that, that you have to use the parking lot. I don't know if that's possible. I guess that would be a legal question to be answered.
Yeah, I'll try to
Thank
get
you.
clarification on that from Bill Sims.
Thanks, Jane. Good point. Let's get
Dr.
to
Mayor?
Alex. Yes. Wait. Oop.
I just want to address Jane's question real quick.
Okay.
It's my understanding, having looked at some of these in other communities, that if it is an event that is occurring at a privately owned business or on private property, that we cannot regulate parking because that property and or business had to have certain parking to even have their business. But we could regulate parking if it's an event that is occurring on town-owned property.
But it is an event that's using town, you know, it's using the public parking though.
Yeah,
I
but
don't-
I know, but I mean, definitely we need to ask Bill, but it's my understanding that because we require a business to have certain amount of quote of parking, we require that for them to get their business license, that we can't require them to have more parking just because on a certain day they expect more business than on a different day. But I mean, I know we'll have to ask Bill, but that seems to be the
Is
trend
that-
in
yeah.
other municipalities.
And I'm curious how it affects the Historic Society, which is not a private business.
But it's privately owned property.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you. We'll have to check that out with Bill. Yes, Sage, please. Thank you, Jane.
Yeah, so I agree with Alex and Mandy on everything that's been said. There's one thing that I wanted to bring up, which is back under 10.3.4F. Where it says no special event shall continue for longer than 2 days without explicit permission from the town of Jerome or Jerome Town Council. I think that sometimes we have events that go for 3 days. The film festival, I believe, is one of them. So maybe we need to change that to 3 days because it can be a standard thing for someone, you know, when they're doing something. The race that just went through, was it 3 days that they were, you know, coming through town? And so I think that maybe we should up that to 3 days.
I guess I put 2 days in there, thinking of those events, thinking that council might want the opportunity to weigh in on those rather than have it done administratively.
Okay,
if you want to change to 3, I can do that. I just wanted to give council the opportunity for really long-standing events to be able to say yay or nay on that, but,
that's good. I was just,
all right.
it just
Thank you.
crossed my mind that there are events that we have regularly, like the Volkswagen
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
thing that's coming in September.
That's at the Gold King Mine though, right?
But that's 3 days. It's always 3 days, and so is the film festival. So there are things that we have regularly up here that are 3 days, but I guess we could make them come before council.
Whatever you,
thank you. Jane, you had another question or comment? Just checking. Thank you. Any other discussion?
Yeah,
Sure.
Dr. Jack, I have one thing.
Okay,
So I'm gonna use the oh my gosh, sorry. Record Store Day as an example. Okay, and not Record Store Day in Jerome, because I've actually never been to the one in Jerome, but I went to a Record Store Day in Detroit when I was there in June. And it's a event that occurs exclusively on private property at a single location. But the city of Detroit has a rule that if a business expects an overflow that will be on the city sidewalk or the city street, like actual people, not cars, of a certain amount, like a certain percentage over the business capacity, if they expect an overflow to be on the street for a long period of time, they require them to have a off-duty police officer to assist with crowd control. Is that something that we even want to think about? I mean, they do that, like the Historical Society does that for events at Spook Hall. Events over a certain size, or if there's certain things happening.
Thank
I
you.
don't know what Record Store Day is like here, but sometimes there are events where there's 200 people lining the sidewalk waiting to get into an event. And I just wanted to know if we wanted to consider that.
thank you. Sage, do you have a question or comment on that?
Actually, I do have a comment on, I have not been to it, but I have watched it from the steps up here, and it was not a pretty sight when they had an album release up here a couple of years ago. They literally took over the entire sidewalk from Caduceus all the way around to the Liberty Theater. So, I mean, you could not walk on the sidewalks. So that might be something we really need to consider.
Cool. Yes. Thank you. Both. That's good. So at this point, I think Candace has got some direction to move forward with modifying this and providing some input from Bill.
I may be reaching out to a couple of you to clarify what you said so that.
Great. Thank you. So we're not taking any action. We're just going forward with a directive to the city manager to go forward with this and get some legal advice from Bill along the way and report back to us at our next meeting. But she will reach out to some of you individually for clarification of your points. Is that okay? Cool. Moving to item 9, new business. 9A, appointment to Planning and Zoning Commission. And I guess, Zara, there you are, still here. Yay, I like it. What am I doing? I lost I did something here. Cancel this. Cancel this. All right, I don't know what's going on with my computer, but John, so Jara's, I appreciate your applying for that position. That's great. I'm just trying to close this. Something just went nuts with my screen. Sorry about that. So at this point, John, am I pronouncing your name correctly? Is it Jara?
Am I on the mic? Yeah, I guess I am.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can see you
I
and
tried
hear
to
you.
mute it, but I guess it was
No, you
on.
did good.
Jara, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for your interest in serving the town of Jerome. Does anyone have any questions of Jera at this point? We have our application in front of us. John, and at this point, what is it's a matter of taking and making a nomination to fill the appointment?
Correct. We'll need a motion to, if the council's interested in filling that slot. We've had a vacancy ever since Mike Harvey resigned. We now have a full DRB, and it would be great to have a full Planning and Zoning Commission.
That's great, and I appreciate the work you've done for not-for-profits, so thank you and for your service there. And is there a motion? Yes, Sage. Yes, ma'am.
Just real quick question for you, Jara. Have you finished reading the zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan?
I'm reading it. I'm in the process. I have some questions for John, I think, just some of the
only a
diagrams and
few.
everything. There's a lot there.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot to
I'm
get
trying to
through.
comb
Yeah.
it and
Good
there's
job.
things.
No,
Thank
So
you.
I am
We'll,
reading it. Yeah.
Thank you
it's
for
like
reading it, and
right
thank
here
you
by
for
me.
applying.
great.
And I would like to make a motion to seat Jara on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
And I
I'll
will.
second that.
Okay, who is the second from? And then we'll get to Candace.
Just want to, if you can clarify the motion to state for the term, the remainder of the term ending February 28th, 2023.
Yes. Okay, Sage, thank you. Who seconded the motion, please?
Alex and
I think
Mandy
all
at
of
the
us
same
did.
time.
Alex, okay, good. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no? All right, Jerry, you're stuck. You're on.
Welcome to the team, lady.
Dude, you fine mess you got yourself into this time. Okay,
Thank
I love it.
How
Welcome
do I
aboard.
mute
Volunteer for
myself?
it.
I don't know how to mute myself, so
I've been
I'm
trying,
trying to
people
figure.
have been trying to do that for me for years. So
And
anyway,
for-
best
Looks like
wishes.
we're
and
the
we really
microphone.
appreciate you moving into Jerome and
You
for your
did it.
service to
You're
the
muted.
community.
I did it.
Thank you so much.
And for Jara and the council's information, I will be setting up an appointment with Jara next week or whenever she's available to do some training, and we'll go over and answer any
That
questions
sounds
you might
great.
have about the zoning ordinance and general plan, et cetera.
Thank you. Moving to the next item, 9B, intergovernmental agreement, the Police Dispatching Equipment Council can review and may approve a renewed IGA with the town of Clarkdale regarding police dispatching equipment. I know that Alan was working on this. Sage, I see Mandy both. Let me get to Sage first and then to Mandy.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Mandy, did you have any discussion item or you want to
I
second?
just wanted a clarification, and then I'll be happy to be the second if I can get this. Candace, has this changed since the previous one?
The same basic agreement, yes.
Excellent. Well, then I will second it.
Thank you, Sage. Thank you, Mandy. Any further discussion, please? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Then
Aye.
we will approve the new IGA. Thank you all very much. Let's move to and from the council for our September meeting. Mandy, I see that hand went up pretty darn quick.
Well, I always have
I
stuff.
know, it's good.
You want to start with me?
There you go.
So I have a couple of things. I'm just getting my notes here.
Okay.
All right. Succession planning as usual, but continue. I'm curious about, it seems like we're doing a lot of surveying. I don't know how other municipalities handle it, whether they just pay piecemeal or whether they do like an agreement. I would be interested to hear about that as a possible cost savings mechanism. I have a couple of things about the league. There is the Arizona League of Cities and Towns listening tour at 2:30 in the afternoon this Thursday at the Prescott Council Chambers. That's their Yavapai County stop, and it's specifically about legislative issues going on at the league. So if anybody is interested in that, I will be attending that. So if anyone else wanted to go, give me a heads up and maybe we can carpool, whether that's staff or council or even residents. Also, the League's annual conference is coming up the end of the month. There are several concurrent sessions. They have posted their full agenda with the sessions and the information on their website on the League. It's through the league's website, click on events and trainings and click on the conference and then agenda. I believe Candace is going to poll the council to see which of those sessions at each time slot everyone believes is the most important. John is also going to be attending the conference this year, so there will be 2 of us to attend. You know, usually there's 4 or 5 options in each time slot, so at least we'll get to do 2 instead of just the 1 as we did a couple years ago. So I'll definitely be looking for your feedback on that. And in line with that, I would love to see us have, I know we do staff and council reports, but maybe something specific for a summary of our experience at the conference and any new or emergent information on the September meeting, which I may or may not be in town for. I need to go back to Michigan to finalize some family issues, and I will be gone somewhere between September 4th and October 16th, and that's kind of up in the air right now, but I just want to let you guys know that I will probably be gone for probably another 3 weeks. So just wanted to give you a heads up. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I see Alex has her hand up. Please, Alex.
Okay, the first thing I want to bring up is there was an email that talked about the ADOT restroom project. I think it came from you, Candace, and it talked about an IGA that had been talked about previous. Is there any way the full council could get any of that information?
Happy
And
to
then
everybody.
And then my question is, was there any kind of drawing schematic or anything of actual structure of the bathroom? Okay, I'm excited to see that.
Okay.
I had spoken with Jean a little bit about it. She was on the council at that time. And we're just interested in recapping a little bit of what that entails.
Yeah.
That might save us some money and some time. And it seems like maybe the major thing is it was down below and now we want it up above. So how to figure that out. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about the town hall parking lot. From the rains, it looks terrible. I think it's about time we pave that. Whenever our county supervisors or any of our people come to see that, it would be really, really nice to have that be paved. So I think maybe some money out of contingency and paving the town hall parking lot might be a wonderful thing to do. And then rest in peace, Denise Guth. The new gate that has been put there, from what I understand, that gate is locked. I brought up this to the council a few years back, either before I was the mayor or when I was the mayor, as a resident in town said that their dog fell off of there and it needed to be fenced. So I just think that if a dog falls off there or a human fell off there, if that gate is locked, there is no way for them to get back up onto that sidewalk. So I think maybe we need to take some money out of contingency, work with ADOT if they need an okay, that whole area gets fenced there. And I also believe that we should have a commemorative plaque for Denise Guth in that space. And that's all I have at this point. Thank you.
Candace.
I just want to comment on the paving across from the Spirit Room. I mean, I'm sorry, the paving of the town hall lot. I asked Marty about that a couple of days ago, and he said, well, he's going to get a quote, but he said, do you want it paved the whole thing or just the part coming down? Because he said if we pave the whole thing, it might create drainage issues. So I said, let's just get a quote for the entryway down to the flat part, basically, because that's where all the problems tend to be. And he could grade the rest of it, just for your information.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to follow up on that a little bit. I looked at it. There's two drainage holes in there, because I thought, how is that draining? And I thought the same thing. If we pave it, is there going to be a draining issue? There are 2 culverts or whatever you call them down in there. So see what we can do, see what we have to work with, see how we can make it better. Any improvement is an improvement, even if we don't do the whole thing. So thank you, Candace.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I see, Mandy, do you have your hand up again, or?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot to add something.
Okay, and then get the sage.
I know there's not a whole ton of them, but think it would be helpful just for the council's knowledge and our interaction with constituents to know when a formal complaint has been filed for an ordinance violation, even if it just gets emailed to us for our information.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have one or two things I want to share. I don't, any, Sage, did you have any? Nothing? Good. Jane, before I speak? Or-
Just one thing, while we're talking about the parking lots around town hall, is the lower parking lot needs some addressing as far as drainage and overgrowth. There's a lot of vegetation that needs to be cleared out down there. And what we might be able to do to fix that parking lot as well.
Thank you. I'd like to mention, while we have Mimi and Chuck Romberg on the meeting, they have really stepped up to help us with moving forward with the Friends of Jerome idea that we had and that we agreed to go forward with. And so we're moving forward with setting up the not-for-profit organization that will be Friends of Jerome. We have a website secured. We'll have the documents submitted. We're going to put together a board. I will be on it. Candace will be on it. I'm thinking of having some business owners on there as well, so that we can start to see, and Mimi has agreed to help with some of the creative art to as far as logo, so that we can get this going, to reach out to people that have been to Jerome over the last decade and see if they can be motivated by their love of our town to donate to the some of the issues of our town. You'll see more about it. I bring it up today so that I'll have Mimi and Chuck talk about it at our next meeting, the progress we've made with it, so we can move forward with it. I'm really excited about it, and think it's going to make a positive difference. And I thank Mimi and Chuck very much for their help with this. Anything else? Hearing none. I think, Sage, what do you think?
Motion to adjourn.
Great. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Woo!
Oh, I love it. Yay.
We don't want that one to fail.
Oh, no, I was going to say, what? That's not, but thank you. We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. We are adjourned at 8:18. Thank you very
Heck yeah.
much. Very
Short
productive
meeting. Thank you, everybody.
And well
Night.
done, everyone. Really good stuff. Thank you. Have a great evening. Stay safe. And Greg, thank you. And Rombergers, thank you also as well. And Jara, thank you.